Hello again, it's Jackie Shelley. So I feel a little silly for doing so many of these today, but I guess since I'm new to it, I'm excited and it feels good. It feels like headed in the right direction. So I'm just going to talk in this one, and what comes out, comes out. Um, so basically, video blogging, which is what I'm calling this, I guess. I'm treating it approximately like calling a best friend and talking to them, only in this case, you're really patient and you don't reply back and just listen. So, something along those lines. But also, I've seen people do video blogs before, and there's a sense of like I'm trying to share some information, something that might help you or might work for you. So I'm trying to share like things I'm trying, things I'm doing, and especially things that I'm doing to try to make my life better and to get back on track. So you might be wondering why I'm doing that, or I felt like I wanted to talk about why I'm doing this or trying to do this. So that's what I hope to do with this one. Um, so I said in one of the first ones I did that I just came back from World Domination Summit, and that is true. And this is my second time going to this conference, so I'll talk a little bit about that. World Domination Summit is organized and run by a gentleman named Chris Skillabo, and he runs a website called The Art of Nonconformity, which is a delightful name. But I ended up last year at World Domination Summit, and to be honest, when I got there, I really didn't know very much about what I was going into. So to even tell that story, I need to jump back, farther back in time. So I'll jump back to the same year. That this was 2011, and this currently is 2012, in case you're watching this later. So it was last year, and I went to South by Southwest Film Festival in Austin, Texas, to the Interactive Week, and I was working for Tarek Lewis. Had a startup called Hash Insights at the time, and it's fun to even remember because it changed so much and so quickly later. But I was working for him as a business development manager, going around collecting people's business cards, contact information, and meeting people. So I had a really busy, intense conference, and I was working for most of the time. But at the very end of the conference, I had signed up for a tweet up hosted by Joshua Milburn, and Joshua Milburn is one half of the writing audience for theminimalist.com. So Joshua Milburn and Ryan Nicodemus are the two writers of theminimalist.com. And I had seen an essay that Joshua had written shortly before the conference, before South by Southwest, and it was posted on the blog of Julian Smith that I was reading and following. I still read and follow his blog as well. So a lot of bloggers, a lot of links, a lot of connections. But I went to this minimalist tweet up hosted by Joshua, and it was pretty much the only event at the conference that I did purely for myself, and it was just for social purposes. I wasn't there to be a business development manager or meet anyone or make contacts. It was the end of the trip, and I was there just to go meet Joshua because I really thought this essay that he wrote was moving and powerful, and it spoke to me. So the essay was about how Joshua had left his six-figure job to pursue his passions, and in the essay, he's a little confrontational, and he kind of says, you know that you wish you could do this too. And of course, for me, it turned out that was true. I really wished I could leave the job I had at the time and do something different. So that essay spoke to me. I contacted Joshua. I found out there would be a tweet up during the conference, and I went to it. And at that conference, or at that tweet up, I met Tyler, and Tyler also wrote a blog, and his blog is called Advanced Riskology, and it's about taking risks. And we had an interesting conversation, and so when we returned, I was following Tyler's blog. So I was reading a lot of blogs at the time, And at some point, Tyler said, hey, there's this conference coming to Portland, and I think he said it's going to be the greatest conference ever to come to Portland, something like that. And I must have been curious about it. I followed the link, and it happened to be around the time that Chris Gillibo was suggesting that anyone that had a ticket for sale, because they couldn't go to the conference, could go on Twitter and say, hey, I can't make it to this year's conference, I'll sell my ticket. And it was the last day or the last weekend that they could transfer that ticket into someone else's name. And so I saw that the conference was sold out. I still didn't know anything about what it was, but it looked interesting. And I went on Twitter and I looked to see if anyone had a ticket for sale, and someone did. And his name is Arvind Devalia, and I've since exchanged a few emails with him. So it's funny how all of these connections were sort of, I think people use different terms like synchronicity or serendipity to describe what happens with Twitter, but this is no exception. I went to a tweet up, I met one person, and then I met another person, and then they led me to yet a third person that I bought a ticket from on Twitter, and paid with PayPal, and boom, all of a sudden I had a ticket to World Domination Summit. And I still didn't know what it was, or how I would get there, or what I would do when I was there, or anything. I'd never heard of Chris Gillibo, didn't know who he was, hadn't ever read his blog at that point in time. So I ended up at World Domination Summit last year, and at World Domination Summit last year, I had some amazing experiences. I heard some incredible people speak, for one thing. I was late to the conference. There's a long story behind that. But I was late, and yet even so, only catching the second half. I saw John Unger speak, and he also is on Twitter and a very interesting, unique individual. But I got to hear his story, and I heard Jonathan Fields speak, and I heard a lot of, there was a bit of a problem last year, and one of the invited speakers couldn't make it, and so some of the volunteers stepped in and filled in the gap and told their stories, and I got to hear from some of those people. So a lot of people telling their stories of personal transformation, personal growth, and I was there at a time where things in my life were really seemed kind of dark, and I was a little scared, so it was a great time for me to be in that environment and with those people. And I certainly could talk a lot more about that than I feel like I have time for in this one. So I went to World Domination Summit last year. At that, I loved it so much that I purchased an advance ticket for this year. And so even though, again, my life is in a bit of a mess and there's a lot of chaos going on, I went to World Domination Summit again. And I've just returned from that, and so I'm sure that if I continue to video blog, I will be talking hopefully about some of the things I learned in that conference. So this is getting fairly long. I'm going to try to keep these under 10 minutes. So since I'm using my iPhone to record these and I can see the time signature in the upper corner, I'm going to wrap this one up. But I just want to say I came back from World Domination Summit. As I said elsewhere, one of the lessons I learned there was that if I want to do this, that I should just get out there and do it and stop procrastinating and just try it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just jumping right in. I don't quite know exactly what I want to do here, but I feel like this is the right direction, that talking somehow to this camera is going to help me to keep going and meet these goals that I'm setting. And I'm just going to do it and see where we go. So hopefully it will be fun for you and you will learn something. But if not, I'll find out. So that's that. I'll wrap this one up. And again, I'm Jackie Shelley, and this is my new video blog.